Have you ever wondered why a woman can dictate the physical attributes of her ideal mate without retribution? Yet when a man does the same, he's met with backlash.
Right, because when we say we don't want an overweight chick, they say we fat shaming.
What are some weirdly specific things that you consider to be red flags in men?
Men who are rude to fat women or traditionally unattractive women.
Why is it that a woman can demand a man to adhere to traditional roles such as footing the bill for a date, yet she herself can reject the traditional role of a woman? A curious double standard, isn't it?
And this is the double standard. They want the benefits of a traditional man and an old school man, but they want to be progressive. Men have to constantly adjust to the way women are, and women do not have to adjust their ways to the way a man is. These chicks will tell you quickly that it's not about you. It's about what they getting out of the relationship.
In the realm of dating, the scales seem to tip in favor of women. Men are often expected to fulfill traditional roles such as being the provider, even when their female counterparts are proudly embracing their independence. Yet, if a man was to expect the woman to fulfill her traditional role, he'd be perceived as regressive or oppressive.
So here's my whole point. If we're going to claim equality across the board, you can't get mad when I'm asking women, how come you don't approach? How come you don't think about where we going on a date? If it's going to be equality, it got to be all across the board. Don't just pick and choose what benefit you and your gender to say we want to be equal. No, we're going to be equal all across the board.
Girlfriend, if you are thinking of asking him out, I need you to stop in your tracks right now. The thought of even doing it is disrespectful to yourself because it shows you don't view yourself as a prize to be won. Keyword, to be won. He needs to win you over. Men are not the prize, men are the catch. And if he's not willing to put in the work, muster up the courage, walk the emotional plank, and ask you on a date, which is not that much, then he's not that into you and he was never gonna. So do not listen to anyone who tells you that women should ask men out in the name of equality. They are lying to you, they're enabling fuckboy culture, and you need to stay far, far away, all right? Don't chase men. Instead, follow my account for more dating advice.
Absolutely, Miss Independent. You got your own money, you got your own apartment, you got your own car, but we go on a date and you can't pay for your own meal? Don't be fooled out here, men, because women want the upper hand. So that part don't gotta change. That can stay the same. Why? Because it benefits you. That's why.
Next time if a guy wants to go 50-50 with you, just remember that if men love equality in the form of splitting the checks so much, then why does society still uphold traditions deep-rooted in patriarchy, such as the woman taking her husband's last name upon marriage? 70% of married women in the US take their husband's last name, so yeah, he can pay for the chicken.
In the bustling city of New York, a man named Robert once found himself amidst an unusual predicament. A qualified nurse with a decade of experience, he had moved to the city with a lot of dreams, but despite his qualifications and experience, he found himself repeatedly rejected from job opportunities. He was told, subtly and not so subtly, that his presence might make the female patients uncomfortable. Robert was facing gender discrimination, a concept often ignored or overlooked when men are at the receiving end. The perception that discrimination against men is somehow less severe or less important than discrimination against women perpetuates this problem. The findings of a study published in 2019, which looked at gender discrimination in 134 countries, claimed that in 68% of those countries, men were more disadvantaged than women. The world is not a zero-sum game. Advocating for men's rights and addressing the issue of discrimination against men does not take away from the fight for women's rights. It's about creating a fair and balanced society where everyone, regardless of their gender, can thrive. So as we navigate our way through the 21st century, it's crucial to remember that equality means everyone.
Who gave men vocal cords? Genuinely, who gave men the ability to speak and said, this is a good idea because we need to talk? Because when a man opens his mouth and starts giving his opinion on, for example, say, the movie Barbie, from the top of my scalp to the tip of my toes, fuck you. You babbling fucking Neanderthals. You look like bubbling idiots starting to scream the word reverse sexism. Define sexism, Chad. And don't pull out your phone. Google isn't going to help you here. See, because you can't. You can't give us a simple definition for the term that you're using in the made-up concept you're fucking arguing about. Reverse sexism. Genuinely, I hope every guy knows that when you give your unwarranted opinion when no one fucking asked, that every person listening, every woman, genuinely would rather stub her toe on every single corner in her fucking house, would rather go down a slide commando that is lined with shards of glass. Okay?
Discrimination, in any form and against anyone, is a hurdle in our path to a more equitable world. It's high time we start acknowledging and addressing the discrimination faced by men. Only then can we truly progress towards a balanced and fair society.
By biology, men and women are going to pick different jobs. It's by our nature that we're going to be more inclined to do one job instead of another. It don't always have to be sexism. But since women want to use sexism to elevate themselves, then they got to be the same with men.
Men are the majority of victims of public sphere violence.
I'm not saying that any of those statistics or male suicide, any of that stuff exists, because it does. Men are the victims of more workplace violence, workplace like suicides, low enrollment rates. That said, that's not systematic oppression in society.
Really? I think that when a 6-year-old girl can hit another child and get away with it and never ever have to suffer retaliation because he's a boy. Okay? I think that's systematic. How? Because if the system intervenes and punishes the boy for hitting back, right? It's systematic.
Because we hear the same argument. What, you're saying that it should be okay to hit women? Nobody should be hitting anybody in the first place. Hit back. You can hit back. You shouldn't hit
okay for a woman to hit a man?
What?
Why does feminism say it's okay to hit a man?
Feminism does not say that it's okay to hit
Okay.
a man.
Thank you for the questions. Okay,
Consider the case of a study conducted in 2015 by Eurofound's European Working Conditions Survey. It showed that while a mere 1% of men perceived discrimination in the past 12 months, the reality of the situation may be much grimmer. This discrimination typically happens in occupations that are stereotypically considered feminine. The societal perception is that men in such roles are either not committed to their job or are potentially dangerous. To illustrate this point further, a study was conducted in 2006 where CVs with equal qualifications, ages, and experience were sent out for job applications. The research found that secretarial jobs, typically considered feminine, showed discrimination against men in hiring. In France, the Observatory of Inequalities reports that men are subjected to more pressure at work and are expected to work long hours full-time. Men also face higher rates of accidents at work, something they refer to as reverse sexism.
One of my pet peeves is when people use the term reverse-ism. So reverse racism, reverse sexism, reverse colorism. Isms don't do that. They go one direction. There's one party that's privileged. There's one party that's not privileged. And oftentimes people, when they see the non-privileged person making a derogatory or prejudicial comment about the privileged person, they want to say like that, oh, that's reverse, whatever. And it's not. It's inappropriate. It could be prejudicial. It could be a number of things, but it's not going to be reverse-ism.
If we continue to turn a blind eye to this issue, the implications for the future are grave. As a society, we are moving towards an era of equality and fairness. However, if discrimination against men continues unchecked, it could lead to an imbalance in the workforce, particularly in sectors such as health and education. It could foster resentment and widen the gender divide, instead of bridging it. Moreover, such discrimination may deter men from pursuing careers in fields dominated by women. This could lead to a shortage of talent in critical sectors such as nursing and teaching.